So anyway, so Janine, another thing Janine told me is, when you do these, a lot of people, well, not a lot, I don't get Kardashian type views on YouTube, but I get a few people watch the sermon, and Janine said, you ought to give a shout out to those people that are watching at home. And I was all prepared to give a shout out to Emily Bowl, and guess what? She showed up today. So she gets a shout out anyway. But I want to say hi to Tom and Barb Lewis. I want to say hi to Chone, even though he won't hear me. I wish I could sign, how do you sign Chone? I could do that. Terry Minke, my brother in Minnesota that watches these. And last but not least, my buddy Artemio, who was released from Terminal Island about 3 months ago, and he's living now a life after being in prison for 16 years. He's living a life in Idaho, I think. So Artemio, yeah, I hope you're watching this. Okay, enough of the shout outs. There's basically two kinds of sermons that you might hear on the Christian life. And the first type of sermon goes like this. The Christian life is kind of like a puzzle to be solved, right? And the message is this: life is full of hardships, frustrations, and obstacles. But if you do this one thing, or sometimes it might be two things, if you do this one thing, then you, yes you, can unlock the secrets to a victorious Christian life. That secret may be any number of things. It could be prayer. It could be fasting. Nope. It could be tithing, which is big with the televangelists, of course, we know that. But the gist is this: once you put into practice whatever it is that's being promoted on that particular Sunday, your life as a follower of Jesus Christ will be simpler, easier, and more fulfilling. Then there's the second kind of sermon, and it goes like this: life has been hard ever since Adam and Eve bit into that first Honey Crisp. I'm thinking it was a Honey Crisp because those are delicious, right? They're just so firm and juicy, and that's got to be what it was, a Honey Crisp. But our lives on this earth are often painful and disappointing from that moment forward, right? We go through times when just making it through the day requires all of our willpower, and happiness and joy seem but a distant dream, very hard to come by, and things don't work out the way we anticipate they might. People don't keep their promises. The lab results come back and they're not good. Your family's in conflict. Or maybe it's nothing really. Maybe it's nothing all that earth-shattering, except you just don't feel right. You feel like out of sync. And we know that's reality. As Wesley, how many of you ever read the book or seen the movie The Princess Bride? This is good, man. As Wesley, aka the dread pirate Roberts, said to Buttercup in The Princess Bride, "Life is pain, Highness. Anyone who says differently is selling something." Now, please don't misunderstand me. There is obvious real value in things like prayer and tithing and regular devotions, reading the Bible. Of course, no doubt about it, our faith does bring a measure of joy and peace. Christianity does relieve us of many burdens that God never intended us to bear. The burden of guilt, the burden of shame, the burden of fear of death, the burden of good works righteousness, which often translates into trying to please all people all the time. And we know with absolute certainty that's doomed to failure. Faith in Jesus does relieve us of a lot of burdens, but we can't escape the fact that following Him means following Him in a journey to the cross. So what exactly does it mean to lose your life for the sake of Jesus Christ? What does that mean? We say it, we just read it, you have to follow me, you have to die to yourself, you have to lose your life. Jesus says we must take up our own cross to follow Him. Well, what does that mean? Well, back in first century, Roman executioners would sometimes require a condemned man to shoulder his own cross on the way to the place of execution, where he would be nailed to the cross and crucified. So what does it mean, really, to die to ourselves? Sometimes God endorses our passions. Sometimes God rewards our pursuits. But here's the catch. We need to be willing to accept the death of those dreams sometimes when God has other plans for us. And that's part of what it means to lose your life for the sake of Christ and the gospel. It means, first of all, investing your time. Our hours and our days, our weeks, our months, and our years, investing as God would have us do. And it means accepting that even when we have been pursuing what seem to us to be very godly and very faithful goals, God might have other plans. So how do we view our time? Do you view it, first of all, as mine? It's my time. It's all mine, to use however you wish? Or do you view it as belonging to God, to be used as He wishes? Let me give you a scenario, and I know darn good and well that everybody in here this has happened to. I can almost guarantee it. It's been one of those weeks. I mean, I'm telling you, man, just nothing went right. You just didn't feel right. You're out of sorts. You are. But you've managed to carve out a couple precious hours on Sunday to watch the race, let's say, right? To watch Blaney win and Kyle Busch crash. Let's say you're going to do that, right? Let's say you're going to do that. And you've got a big old thing of nachos or whatever. And you've got your Mountain Dew or whatever. And you're just like, you're on cloud nine. Man, this is what it's all about. You just sat down on the couch. You're ready to watch. All of a sudden, what happens? Something rings. What is it? The phone. And guess what? Someone's hurting. Someone's hurting. They're dealing with an issue. And they need someone to talk to. And guess who? Man, guess who? The nachos get cold. That cheese that you put on there, which I don't even think is cheese. I think it's like 20% plastic. That stuff you get out of the can, that goes cold in a nanosecond. So your nachos are toast after you help this friend out, by the way. So here's the thing. You know what it feels like to say yes to that request because we've all done it, right? We've all been interrupted. How many times have I said that servanthood is what? It's not convenient. It never is. It rarely is. So what happens when your Sunday with nachos and the race and the Mountain Dew gets interrupted? It feels sort of like dying. It's the death of your beautiful vision for your Sunday afternoon. The death of your vision of how you're going to spend those couple, 3-4 hours. The death of your opportunity to just sit back and relax. It doesn't feel all that joyful in the beginning. It feels like disappointment and loss and seeing something you were counting on and looking forward to slip through your fingers. And that's the kind of choice we're faced with. Maybe not every day, but a lot. Live for ourselves and protect what's ours. Hold on to the things we want and we feel we need no matter what. Come hell or high water, hold on to it. Or are we willing to let that go? Are we willing to let that go? You see, that's what it means to say we lose our life for Christ. And in doing so, though, guess what? We get eternal life by giving up our rights. Following Christ means voluntarily relinquishing our rights to our time and our talents and our treasure, when doing so advances the gospel, the good news of Jesus Christ. Our rights die, so new life can, what just started yesterday? Spring! Spring up, right? Our rights die so new life can spring up. Long before I ever considered even starting to shave, and I don't have to shave that often because I don't get like all that much growth. It's pretty spotty, but long before I started shaving, we did a science experiment in elementary school, and I bet almost every one of you did it. We took a bean of some kind, maybe like a pinto bean. I know Barb and Janine and the teachers and Lynette, and I know the teachers have probably done this. We moistened a paper towel and put it in a styrofoam cup. Then we stuck the bean in between the moist towel and the side of the cup and put it in the window, in the sun. And over the course of the next few days, guess what? We could see roots and a bean plant sprouting from the bean. The magic of science. But in the process, what happened? What happened to the bean? Destroyed. The bean was destroyed. Over time, as the plant continued to grow, the bean is consumed. It's the same with any kind of seed, a wheat, a kernel of corn. If you take a kernel of corn and bury them in the ground, over time you add sun and water and air, and you'll have a corn stalk several feet high. You remember we had corn stalks growing out here in the field? I think it was left over from Greenler's farm. Somehow the corn seeds got over here, and we had corn stalks growing right in the middle of that field over there. So trust me, it happens. But guess what? If you were to dig up that dirt and retrieve the original kernels that you put into the ground, what will you find there? Nothing. Dirt. Who said dirt? Good answer. Dirt. That's it. They're gone. They died. They were transfigured. Remember that word? From the inside out. They were transfigured into something new and better. You know why it was better? What I want to tell you this morning is that your life can be like that grain of wheat or that kernel of corn. You can have a positive influence on the world. You can produce many seeds. But there's one catch. And it's a biggie. You have to die first. You have to die first. You have to give up your claim to your own right, your own life, and all the things that compromise it, your time, your possessions, your plans, your rights. Are you willing to do that? Are you willing to let God use your life in ways you cannot even possibly imagine? If you are, He will. And what happens when we do this, though? It feels like dying. Sometimes it can feel like the death of our dreams, of our life, our time, our possessions. But once we've made the choice to do it, to relinquish what we're holding on to, there's actually a profound sense of joy and peace and happiness. We rejoice in the knowledge that what we gave up, as much as it meant to us, as much as we valued it, was worth far less than what we're receiving in return, which is eternal life through Jesus Christ. When Jesus calls us to give up our lives, to lose them for the sake of the gospel, He's calling us to follow what? His example, because He already did it. He's calling us to do what He's already done, to follow the path that He laid out. He gave His life for us. He sacrificed everything in order that we might have the opportunity to have eternal life and have forgiveness of sins. So when we carry our cross, we have the opportunity to do wonderful things, great things. As Jesus Himself said in John 14:12, He said, "Very truly, I tell you, the one who believes in me will also do the works that I do. And in fact," hear this, "will do greater works than these, because I'm going to the Father." Not great things, even greater. Amen.